Which is the worst year in history? This undesirable title is contested by many. We could, of course, consider 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But there are a few other contenders that we almost don't remember. For instance, there is the year 1347, when the Black Death began to ravage Eurasia. Or the year 1816 could also take the crown, when low temperatures earned it the nickname the year without summer, as the thermometer fell 6 degrees Celsius, which, although it may seem little, was enough to impact crops and plunge all of Europe into a great famine. And let's not forget about 1914, when the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria started World War I and one of the most brutal genocides humanity has ever witnessed. Or 1918, which combines the First World War with the Spanish flu pandemic, kind of a mix of the year 2020 with the World War. It is clear that throughout history, we have witnessed multiple years and decades of suffering. Like in the 1330s, when Yuan China suffered a terrible famine, while Europe was affected by a similar situation in the 1590s. In addition, in the 1490s, smallpox and the flu wreaked havoc on indigenous populations in America, and syphilis spread throughout the Old World. The political philosopher and cynic Thomas Hobbes astutely observed in his work Leviathan of 1651 that life can be nasty, brutal, and short. Although historians often highlight a specific year as the worst, it is true that there have been moments in historical memory that have been especially difficult for humanity. But don't we want a politically correct answer in this video? So, let's see what is the worst year in history. Drum roll, please. The year 536 has been singled out as the possible worst year in human history due to a series of natural disasters that triggered serious consequences. Apparently, one or more volcanic eruptions in the northern hemisphere were responsible for a long volcanic winter that lasted 10 years. Such was the crisis that China experienced snow in the summer, and average temperatures in Europe decreased by 2.5 degrees Celsius. This event caused a general failure of crops and famine, leading to armed conflicts. The Byzantine historian Procopius of Caesarea said about this year, open quotes, "During this year there took place the most dread sign, for the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon, during this whole year, and it seemed exceedingly like the sun in eclipse, for the beams it shed were not clear." End quote. Although it is eerily poetic, it is right. After all, in this volcanic winter that began in 536, there were 18 months during which the sun appeared pale, like the moon, due to the ash clouds. In 541, the bubonic plague, originating from Egypt, caused the death of 1/3 of the population of the Byzantine Empire, while in Peru, droughts affected the flourishing Moche culture. Advancements in historical understanding of the worst year in history have emerged thanks to advanced techniques such as dendroclimatology and ice core analysis. In particular, dendroclimatologist Ulf Bunkten has found evidence of volcanic eruptions in growth patterns of tree rings from 536, 540, and 547. Moreover, the analysis of a Swiss glacier carried out by archaeologist Michael McCormick and glaciologist Paul Majewski has been crucial to understanding the severity of climate change in 536. These methods are now considered important and even essential resources in the methodological toolkit of historians, especially for analyzing periods with few records. Historians like Kyle Harper, Jared Diamond, and Jeffrey Parker use these advances in this field to construct complete revisionist narratives about the rise and fall of certain societies. For them, planetary conditions have a much greater importance in driving our history than previously considered. How was the beginning of climate change experienced in the year 536? Is a question that remains a subject of study for historians as they examine various sources. In reality, most people living in that year were probably not aware of the magnitude of the problem. Historians often rely on anecdotal fragments loaded with fatalism, such as the quotes of Procopius and Cassiodorus. However, just as in the boiling frog syndrome, it is possible that the common citizen of that time only gradually perceived how daunting the conditions of their world were becoming. In reality, the most critical moment was not experienced in the year 536, but later, when the effects of the plagues, droughts, cold, and famines began to be felt with all of their strength. Understanding the harshness of the year 536 serves to contextualize our idea of a bad year, and perhaps, just perhaps, reconcile us a little with the years 2020 and 2021, which, although bad as we've seen, could have been much, much worse. Well, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.